Hello, my name is Matthew Distante, and I've marched with Pacific Crest, the Santa Clara Vanguard, Vessel, POW Percussion, and Pulse Percussion, and I'm very excited to go inside the shot with Russell Tanakaya.
Hi everyone, Russ Tanakaya here with this week's edition of Inside the Shot. You know, I've been very anxious to be doing this interview because the performer that we're featuring this week is a young man from Southern California that, in a word, I would say he is very cerebral. This is the thinking guy. This is the guy I go to when I want to know about a show, the applicability of the music. If I don't understand the music or the design, this is who I go talk to. So I think we're going to have a really exciting show this week. So welcome to the show, Matthew Distante.
Yeah, thanks, Russell. I'm incredibly excited to be here. Like you talk about, I do find myself to be a bit cerebral, but I feel like it's really important to know what the show is about, or else you're never really going to be able to get yourself fully involved in it. If you're just performing something that doesn't really mean anything to you and that you don't really understand, you're never going to reach that next level of performance and really get that emotional value for both yourself and for your audience.
Yeah, that is exactly true. That's why I like to have these conversations with you, because if you ask Matthew a question, you will get an extremely detailed answer. So why don't we jump into a shot? Let's see shot number one.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. This shot, I love it because this is pretty much at the beginning of the time that I have known Matthew. He started at Pacific Crest. Obviously, he plays the contra. And you look like such a baby in that shot.
Yeah, I think in that shot, that was from 2016, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I was 16 years old when that was taken, and I'm 21 years now, so that was the very beginning of my marching career. It's crazy to think that it's been 5 years now.
Do you remember that show? I think that shot was taken at the Rose Bowl.
Yeah, the Rose Bowl show was incredibly important to me because it was my first year doing drum corps. I was still in high school. I had never had an experience even remotely close to that. I was finally able to get private tuba and visual instruction. It was just a completely new experience for me. And the Rose Bowl was such an important show for me because I finally got to see my family and friends. I got to see my peers from school. I got to see some childhood friends that were able to make it out to the show. And I'm from Southern California, so the Rose Bowl was my home show. So I remember that show just being filled with the adrenaline and knowing that teachers and mentors and friends and people that looked up to me were all in the audience watching. So that was very memorable and definitely kicked off kind of my passion for performing and being able to share that with other people.
Right, that's an exciting place for a Southern California person in drum corps. All right, great. Let's go inside shot number two. Yeah, and this is the year that you left us at PC and went to Santa Clara Vanguard. And I remember this show because I did not know that you had moved up north. I just knew that you weren't at practice. And so I remember being at that show, looking through the camera and going, look, wait a minute, that looks like Matthew. And there you were. And it's a little bit different kind of corps, but obviously you're there because you're very successful. You're really great at what you do. And that was an incredible show. Please tell us about that. There are so many things going on there.
Yeah, I absolutely loved my time at Pacific Crest. And I feel like it really set me up for success for myself when I actually came into the Santa Clara Vanguard. And it made it so that when I came in 2018, that was my first season, I was able to just come in. I had 2 years of drum corps experience under my belt. I felt comfortable auditioning at audition camps, and I felt confident enough in myself to really just shine through in the audition. And that show was just absolutely phenomenal to be a part of. That was Babylon, obviously, it was 2018. That happened to be a championship season. And I just remember going in, and I think I was still 17 when I started that season, and then 18 as I moved throughout it. So that was just an otherworldly experience for me. It was my first time being in a truly just top of the activity organization. It was a completely different style, a completely different technique and pedagogy, and I just kind of had my mind blown being there for the first time.
And you know, I remember that show. The uniform is unusual. There's like a barcode down your leg. I know there's a story there.
Yeah, so the barcode thing was really interesting because I think that was one of the first questions when we saw the uniform as members that we asked the staff. We said, "What does this barcode mean? Like, does this actually scan to something?" And our one of our creative designers, Andy Toth, actually informed us, and we verified that it works. If you scan that barcode with a scanner, it actually spells out the word Babylon. That especially plays into the show's theme that year, because that theme, if you know what the actual story of Babylon is, it's based around the Tower of Babel. And the Tower of Babel is this story in the Bible about a bunch of people building a tower up basically to meet God into the sky. And that wasn't in God's plan, so he decided that he was going to punish the people by causing them to speak different languages. And that's the Bible story of the reason that we have different languages today and different ways of communicating. So if you're looking at the actual pace of that show, it starts, we're all together, we are around this massive tower that two people are dancing on, and we're all reaching up to the sky and falling down. And as the show progresses and as it goes out, the tension builds and builds and builds and builds in this opener, and you start to hear people speaking different languages and things get more and more and more intense. We actually had some Japanese members that were able to record themselves speaking Japanese into the microphone, along with a lot of other just incoherent nonsense, which just kind of builds to this climax. And this whole show is kind of about this progression and eventually learning that there's other ways to communicate other than just verbally.
Yeah. Well, that show was so complex and so many different angles going in there. It earned Santa Clara a world championship that year, right?
Yeah.
So congratulations. Hey, let's go inside shot number 3. Okay, and now of all the cerebral moments I've seen you have in your career, this show, when I first saw it, I honestly did not like it. But after I saw it maybe 3 or 4 times, and I started to understand all of those characters, the backdrops, the makeup, the costumes, it absolutely, you guys hit it out of the ballpark that year. I loved this show. Tell us a little bit about that, because there's a lot going on here.
Yeah, that was by far one of my favorite, if not my favorite show to perform in all of my years of DCI and WGI. I actually got contacted for that role by a couple of Santa Clara Vanguard staff that doubled as staff for the POW and Pulse organization. And they needed someone that knew how to play guitar and knew someone that knew how to act this character. I just kept getting pestered and pestered about doing this role, and I informed them, I was like, I actually don't play guitar, I play bass. And the two are very similar, but the role and the music I was getting asked to play was extremely complex and very different. Sure. But eventually, just after getting pestered, I decided, I was like, you know what, this is going to be an amazing experience for me. And this whole show is this idea of this man that has lost his wife, his loved one. And the whole show, pretty much, I am the only one on the floor without a mask. I'm the only living person in the actual show. All the pit is the memories of those that we have forgotten, and all the battery is the same. So as I go through the show, doing various things and remembering those that I've lost, I just get more and more emotional, and having to portray that was quite difficult, but just getting very emotional about these different things, about these different people, and about my wife. And I play an older character, so near the end of the show, I end up having a heart attack over the thought and just getting so angry and frustrated about the loss of my wife. So if you see in the second picture, I have a mask on at last because I had to fake myself having a heart attack and then ended up passing on to the afterlife, where I was able to be with my loved one again. So it was a beautiful story.
And the character of the wife, she's Santa Clara. No, she was Blue Devils B trumpet player, right?
Blue Devils B, yeah, Victoriana. She was absolutely incredible to work with, and we definitely had to form a connection throughout that show. So I found myself, there were some shows where I would actually cry. I would start bawling in the middle of the show, and I'd have to keep playing guitar and keep doing all these things, and this very difficult level of performance that I was being asked to do. And there's always that part of you deep down that's worried about, like, oh, I can't miss these notes, I can't miss these notes, I can't miss these notes. And you're also trying to worry about embodying the emotion and really being able to perform in front of thousands of people. So it was definitely one of the most challenging things that I've ever had to do, is play all that music and do all that visual responsibility and really try to tell a story with the entire ensemble. And it was a fantastic group effort that year.
Yeah, that show came out incredibly good, and congratulations on that. Let's move on. Let's go inside the next shot. Yeah, I love this shot because this is your second year at Santa Clara Vanguard, and I'm not really sure, but you don't see very many marching sousaphones on the drum corps field, and you sure as heck don't see very many sousaphone solos. Tell us about that show that year.
Yeah, so that was the first year both the Blue Devils and SCV ended up having sousaphone soloists. So that was the first year. It was almost like kind of like this arms race of building up, and just seeing the fact that there was another sousaphone out on the field was just absolutely hilarious to me. It was the first year that the sousaphone has been in the activity, which caused a lot of uproar from some older, more traditional people. But it was absolutely perfect for the piece that we ended up doing. That show was Vox Versio, which translates into Voice of the Revolution in Latin. So 2018 is this kind of idea of learning to bond and connect with each other through music, and it starts separated and frustrated, and then we end happy and together. And Vox Versio is almost kind of the polar opposite, where it's about being an individual, not falling into a collective, not bonding, but really being who you are. And that's why I feel like it was so important that we used the sousaphone that year, because the sousaphone is this very unconventional instrument. The solo line that I had to play wasn't very gentle, wasn't very fluid. It was very it was very just crass and in your face. And it was this nice rhythmic backbeat duet with the trombone. And it was this really, really interesting thing that we got to do. And that whole show was focused on individualism. And I'm so happy that I got to do POW the year before, because there were a lot of times in performing that solo where I just wasn't given instruction on what to do with my body. And, if you're just kind of standing there awkwardly waiting in between the little lines you need to play, it's really boring to watch. So I had to figure out what I was going to do in between the solos, and the thing that not even my character would do, but I would do. Like, in POW, I was playing a character, I was telling someone else's story, but Vox Versio was such a profound experience because I got to tell my own story. I got to do what I wanted, I got to move the way that I felt like I should with the music, and I remember I ended up stomping so hard during one section that I actually kicked a hole in the prop. So we had to hire people in to come fix it and rework all that stuff. And I just remember feeling the absolute adrenaline just course through me during a performance, and feeling my foot just go through the upper level of a prop. I was just kind of like, okay, I need to dial it back a little bit. But
that was another great show, and you played a great role in that. I loved taking pictures of you that season. So again, congratulations on a great performance. Now, first of all, thanks for joining us this week, because you've added a lot of dimension into the explanation of some of the shots, and I think that really helps people that watch the show understand what's going on into everything that these designers try to put together. And your perspective is refreshing, so thank you. But I want to know now, Matthew, I think I heard that you're getting ready to graduate. So you're getting an undergrad degree in musical education, and are you teaching now? What are you going to do with that?
Yeah, so I'm graduating this spring. I'm getting a degree in tuba performance and a degree in music education. And as soon as this semester, as I'm graduating, I'm going to apply for the credential program at Cal State Long Beach, go back for another year and a half, I believe I'm signed up for right now, of getting my post-undergrad teaching credential. And then after that, I hope to have a healthy mix of both being a freelance musician and also being a music educator in the Southern California area. Thank you so much for having me, Russell. It was an absolute pleasure to be on this episode of Inside the Shot, and thank you so much for taking so many amazing pictures throughout the years. Having you follow me along in my marching experience and getting to relive all of this over again has just been amazing. Thank you.